And hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up another trigger box, and that trigger box is going to send us to a room inside the mansion, and then from there we're going to set up another trigger box in that room to send us back outside. All right, so to set up a trigger box, that shouldn't be that difficult for us. We've done that in the last tutorial, so we're going to go to volumes, grab a trigger box, place that on the floor, make it large enough, to fit out the fountain. So then that way our character can actually walk close enough to the fountain. Let's just move around here. Okay. Same thing, we want to check, make sure that the trigger box's collision settings are set only to pawn. So this is the only thing that will trigger the event. And then from there, give this trigger box a unique name. So I'm going to call it tbox underscore to room 2. It'll be the second room that we would be going to. Okay, so with the trigger box selected, we're going to want to go ahead and go into blueprints, go up to open level blueprints. And when we do this, we're actually going to see the code that I've already set up for the demo to make this work. And actually what we'll do very quickly is we'll just look through it, so that way we understand what we need to set up. So basically we are setting up a begin overlap with the trigger box. From there, we're going to cast it to the first person player. We're going to set up an if condition, and the if condition that we need to know is whether we are teleporting right now or we are not teleporting right now. And if we are teleporting, if this is true, then it's going to set the teleport back to don't teleport. And if it's false, it's going to allow the teleport to initiate or be active. And what that's going to do is then trigger this event, which in this particular box will send us to a very specific location, which is plane, which I've got as the object plane 2. And we'll see that, but this object is telling us where we want to go, and this is getting where we are now, and then that is giving us, that will then give us the new location. We wait for 2 seconds, and then we make sure that teleport is off when we're on the other side, so we can't trigger this event again. Okay, so that's basically what we'll be doing, and then we'll set up the reverse of that to be able to get out of the room and go back outside, right? So we'll set that up as one giant event, and we'll go ahead and get started. So we do have the trigger box selected right now, so I'm going to right click, make sure that content sensitive is on. That will give us the options to create a on begin overlap. As we saw, we are going to need to cast this to the first person player. So cast to first person character. And what that'll do is make sure that, and we'll plug the object in, is that then that way it knows that this is going to interact with that. When it bumps into us. And from there, the next thing that we saw is that we're going to need to set up a branch. So let's click and drag out from here and type in if or branch. And from here, I already have the variables created, so we're going to have to create these variables. These variables are actually not here. They're going to be coming from the cast to first person player. That's why we needed this, so then that way we could figure out whether the first person player was teleporting or not, to then make sure that this event either does get triggered or does not get triggered. So let me go to the first person player and I'll show you. Oh, no. Actually, we set it up right here. So this is actually why we don't have to do this. Are we doing this in the level? Yeah, we are doing this in the level blueprint. Okay, so what we do is we come over here to variable and we will create a new variable. If it doesn't come in as a Boolean, you're going to need to click here Boolean and make sure that it's Boolean. Go in here and give it a name. Call it is teleporting. And once you've done that, you'll want to hit compile because you want the variable to show up down here at the bottom. Remember that if it's clicked, it is. If it's not, then it's not. then it's not selected, right? It's the option is false. So either it's checked for true or it's unchecked for false. So since I've already got mine, I'm going to right click on this one and just delete it. So we're going to click this and we're going to see that I've left mine as is not teleporting, which is the natural state. Only when we run into the trigger box do we want it to create the teleport, right? So with that, what we'll need to do is set the value and get the value. So we need to get the value currently, and then we're going to set the value either to no or to yes. To do that, we'll grab this, place it on the floor once, and get the value. That's the one that we'll plug in. So the natural state for this will be no, we're not teleporting. From there, we added a delay. And we're doing the delay so then that way we give the game enough time to like load all the assets and do all that. So I'm going to give it a 2-second delay. Yeah, I believe that's what I did over here. Yep, we gave it a 2-second delay. And then from there, we're going to set this now. So I'm going to go back to the variable, grab it, put it on the floor in the blueprint, and then set the variable. And this will now be how the variable is set. Okay, so now what we need to do is make a copy of this. We can either grab it and set another copy, or we can grab another copy from here. So I'm going to go Control-C, Control-V. That has made an additional copy, and I'm going to connect this to the faults. Now, by connecting it to the faults, we say that we actually do want this to be, we do want to turn teleporting on. So basically, we're saying that when we run into the box, cast this information to first-person player, look at the teleporting. If teleporting is set to off, then keep it off if this is a true statement. If this is false, then we want teleporting to turn on. And then from there, we're going to want to trigger the actual teleport event. So we're going to click from here and we're going to type in teleport. Teleport. Turn case sensitive off, so that way we can actually find the function that we're looking for. Okay, so transformation, remember these are transform tools, so we're going to hit that, and now we're going to have the ability to set the target to this, set a destination, and so basically where we are now, where do we want to go, and who's going. All right, so to do this, we are going to need to create an actor in the destination where we want to go, and we're going to need to assign the get player pawn and the get what direction are. So basically, we want to find the direction that our character was facing, and then so then that way when they reappear in their new destination, they are in that direction. If you want that. If not, I assume that there would be something here that you would be able to set the actor's rotation instead of getting the actor's rotation. And then that would allow you to be able to face the character in whatever direction you want them to be in. But here I'm going to make it sort of feel like it's continuous, like they're going from one location to the next location and they're still running in the same direction. Okay, so easy enough with the bottom part. We'll go ahead and get player pawn. So right click, get player pawn. Okay. All right. From there it was get rotation. And I believe that's the right one. Yeah, get actor rotation. Okay, we want the function, and we're going to set this here. Okay, so not that we need, okay, let's see. And from there, we're going to then get the plane. Now, the plane we don't actually have on the floor because we haven't set that up inside the building yet. So before I hit compile, I'm going to close that out. We're going to go into the building, and we're going to find a room that we can teleport into. Okay, so we'll go ahead and fix this room. I'm going to type in floor, and we'll go look for some materials to drop on this quickly, just to decorate the room up a little bit. Basic floor. Let's put some stone walls in here. Doesn't have to be fantastic. Okay, now the light is leaking actually from the room above, so this room doesn't actually have any of its own proper lighting. So I'm going to grab some lights and I'm just going to stick them in here. Oh, I don't want that. We just grab another point light. Set it up in one corner. And then we'll set this one up in the corner that we're going to pop into. All right, we need a ceiling real quick, so we'll drop a ceiling. So this is quite a boring floor. But now we can go and I'm going to create a basic. This is going to be the plane that we're going to get the coordinates from. Again, I'm just going to raise that off the floor a little bit. We'll make it a little bit bigger. And then we'll just stick it in the corner. All right, so that's going to be where we come in from. Make that a little bit bigger. Okay, fantastic. So with this object selected, I'm going to go back into blueprints, open level blueprints. And from here, we're going to need to assign that as the destination location, like where is our character going. So I'm going to move that down a little bit. We're going to right click. Since we have that selected, we're going to hit content sensitive, create a reference to that plane. And then from there, we should just be able to, nope, we actually have to get actor location so that we actually pull the X, Y, and Z information. So get actor location. So now we have a yellow, which is going to be a vector, and that we can now plug in, right? Okay, so from there, the last thing that we do with this is obviously we need to set the pawn as the target. That's what's going to be being teleported. And then just like we did back here, we're going to be setting up a delay. And so once the teleport is over, we want this to then be turned off or back into its natural state, which is we are not teleporting. So during this 2 seconds, we are moving from this location to the other location. That will then allow us to be able to move into that room. And then from there, it'll delay for 2 seconds and we'll be able to not be teleporting. So we're going to set up same thing here. I'll just do a Control C, Control V. We'll move that down. And actually, let's move all of this stuff over a little bit. And I'll just set that underneath. All right. We'll select everything, hit Control C, and go ahead and label this so we know what it is. And this is going to be T-Box teleport to, let's say, room 2. Which is what we said it was, right? And let's go ahead and hit compile. We don't have any errors. And let's see now if our trigger box works. So let's go ahead and push play. Okay, I believe it's going to be that second fountain up there. And something's not working. Are we at the right box? Believe that's the right box. Oh, we may not have finished setting up the no. So we go to level blueprint, overlap with this box, cast to first. We forgot to connect this. Whoops. Okay, there it is. It didn't know what to teleport, and that's why it didn't do it. So let's hit compile and save. We'll minimize this. We'll push play. And this time it should work. Okay, we did indeed end up in the room that we created. We can see that the light source is over there. This is the other light source over here. And now all of a sudden we're stuck and we need to be able to get out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the reverse. which will allow us to be able to teleport from this to back outside, somewhere close to the fountain, but not in the trigger box, obviously, because we don't want to create this endless loop. So let's go ahead and hit escape. And what we'll do here is I'm going to make a copy of this. So Control C, Control V, and we'll slide this across the room. And then that way, we'll have some kind of marker that lets us know, hey, we should go over there. That's where the trigger box will be. Okay, so we'll set that up here. We'll set up, excuse me, we'll set up another trigger box. So we'll go volumes, trigger box, or trigger volume, set that on the floor, expand this out. Okay. Oops. We're in the floor above now. All right, so we have that trigger box selected. We're going to go look at its collision settings. We're going to make sure that it's only going to do anything with a pawn, or that it's only going to overlap with a pawn. Make sure that its overlap generator is there. And we're going to call this T-box to garden. And maybe if we wanted R2, so that way we know if we're coming from, maybe we put that. So R2 to garden. There we go. We can spell. All right, so T-box underscore R2 to garden. And now that we have that, we're going to go to blueprints. We'll say open level blueprints. We basically just need to create a copy of this because most of this is correct. All we'll have to do is change the box down here. This will be correct. All of the rest of this will be correct. So we'll do Control C, Control V. We'll put that somewhere close by. I'll go ahead and get rid of the where we're going to be teleporting to, because we don't want to go back to the same room that we're in. And from here, since we still have the trigger box selected in the game, we're going to right click. We're going to say add event from. You'll see that it's T-box R2 to garden. Collision, add begin overlap. Place this here. Add that, make sure that the actor is connected. And then we need to now just go back out to the garden and say, where are we going to teleport to? So that's our starting point. This one takes us to the other level. This is the one that takes us inside. So I'll set up, let's say, a box here, or a basic, a plain. Now, if you wanted to camouflage this a little better, if you put that same material on this and just, pushed it into the floor, just, and had it just like 1 unit above, 2 units above, wherever this was, it would just look like, it would just look like nothing, actually. I'm making it obvious, so then that way we can see when we're actually coming in. But, if you wanted to hide that a little bit better, you could theoretically make it the same size. Essentially all we need is something to attach to, so then that way this is where we end up. So now that we have that there, we could give this a unique name, like what since we're there, let's say plane from room 2. That way I know what that is. All right, so once we have that selected, it's still selected, right? We can see that we have that. We're going to go to blueprints, open level blueprint, right click, make sure content sensitive is turned on, create a reference, and plug that in. And theoretically, this should work. All of that should be correct. We'll select everything. We'll hit Control C. And we'll say that this is from room 2, or T-box from room 2. So T-box from room 2 to garden. And if we want it to be very specific, we might say fountain 2 or whatever fountain we were going to call it. I'm just going to leave that part off. I'm just going to say to the garden. And the cool thing that you can obviously do is if you have 2 boxes or more, you can put a box over all of them. And then you can say teleport from garden to room 2. And this would be all the code for that. So let's just double check and make sure that this is working, that we can get the conductivity back and forth from the room back to the garden, from the garden back to the room. All right, so we're going to hit compile and save. We're going to close the level blueprint, and we're going to push play on the game. All right, so we're going to walk over to the second fountain. We're going to run into it. This should work. And from here, we're going to run into now the additional trigger box that we set up. And that indeed took us outside in the area. Now, obviously what we don't want to do is have the character run right into the trigger box again. So at this point, the nice thing about this is that we didn't set this up with coordinates. So it's very easy just to move the box out of the way. And then this way, when we run it again, our character or the player can just run right into it and not run right into a loop. Unless, of course, that's something that you intended and you're like, hey, you got to slow down because that's the game. But, you know, whatever. It's all about design and what you do with the code. So we're here. We jump back. We run over to the other side of the room. We jump here. Now we're here. Instead of running right into it, we can say, oh, we have enough time to walk away and we don't run into the, although we are disorientated because we did not start from the same place. So that might be fun. You could really like mess with people that way. Once you're here, you can put a delay, destroy the box or whatever it is. But you know, technically it's not doing it. And if you hit it well, you know, like put the same concrete, and just to show you what I mean, you know, we can put this, we can say material. Let's go in and find that concrete. I assume one of these is going to be it. You know what? Let's just click that, find this. That's it right there. We'll drop that on here. And then it's just a matter of selecting that guy again. Okay, so now you have something that looks like it's hidden, right? It doesn't look like it's, you know, if we were to click somewhere else on the screen, we were to look at that, walk over it, we wouldn't notice that that was there, but we are now able to use that as part of our code. And just to show you again, we would push play. We know we'd have to run into that fountain. Fountain teleports us into that level. Okay, now that we have a working demo, I hope you have enjoyed the video and you've seen how you can use a trigger box, 2 trigger boxes, one outside, one inside a building, to be able to create a teleportation code by using the open level blueprints or the level blueprints, and basically saying, you know, figuring out whether the character is teleporting, then using the teleportation function that's already available. From there, setting up an object that the character can use to get the new location, setting that new destination, and then obviously creating the delays that we need to, and then resetting the teleportation function to, or boolean, to be no, so then that way we're not constantly teleporting all the time. And then from there, in reverse, doing the same thing, picking a new point, and then being able to teleport to that new point. So basically you could just sit there and copy and paste this hundreds of times and basically have like these little mini levels that as you go from one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one. It takes whatever trigger box and uses those to send you to the next one. And you might even have a cool game where you set up lots of trigger boxes, sort of like what we're doing here, and there's like different places that you're going to, popping in and out of, and they can be different levels, they can be the same level, as we've seen with the trigger box in the first tutorial and now this one. So you can go from from place to place within the same level, or you can go from a level to a new level, all using just the trigger box. So I hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.